All right.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Hi. How are you? Good.
All right, welcome everyone. We'll go ahead and call this meeting to order. Sorry, we're running a little late. I think the snow has got us all slow this evening. We will start here with the public comments. If you have any comments regarding the agenda tonight, you're welcome to.
There's a microphone.
Did you have a comment that you'd like to make? Okay. Right up here on the podium, there's a mic. Is it on an agenda item? Yeah. Okay. Okay. Oh, absolutely no. No. Okay. Well, go ahead and talk.
Yes.
Go ahead. Yeah. No, absolutely. Go right ahead. Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you for your patience. Okay, so my name is Robin Duncan, and my husband and I just moved to Franklin this summer, July. So this has been very interesting. And we fell in love with our neighbors. We've fallen in love with the community. We moved down here from the east side of Indianapolis for my husband's position in Greenwood. And I've been very impressed with the community. I'm in full support of the services that you provide, the people that live here. And I'm here to voice my concerns about what's happening locally in response to what's happening worldwide, really, at this point. And I've collected some statistics. I've done some research, and I just have several, I guess, bullet points that I will share. Again, I apologize. I'm not really sure exactly what the focus of this meeting is, so I apologize with that respect. So we're new to the community, so we have a family of our own, 2 small children. And so I get out and I walk around the neighborhood, and I've gotten to know the neighbors just by, meeting face to face, the old fashioned way, hi, how you doing? You need help with something? That kind of thing. And I'm concerned because our little ones are not yet at high school level, but I've been speaking with neighbors this week, and they keep me updated with things that are going on. And I have a neighbor that shared the fact that her son was supposedly near someone, had close contact, the words are close contact, with someone. It could have been someone on her son's team, or just someone at school, and that person had tested positive for the COVID test, or the positive for the PCR test. And because of that person tested positive with that test, her son was quarantined at home for 14 days. Okay, this is a friend who is remarried, so she shares custody. So her sons, her boys, go from 1 week with her and her current husband, and then 1 week with her ex. And so she was sharing that her son was quarantined for 14 days. So obviously that's split between mom and dad. And she shared that though he never tested positive, he was forced to stay home and had to miss out on going to school. And I was shocked to hear that as a high schooler in this community, he's only going to school 2 days a week anyways. I was like, are you serious? She said, yes. She said, everybody's on the hybrid model, hybrid learning. I said, really? Okay, well, according to the research that I've read, that might work for some high schoolers that are very go get them and organized, which in general does not fit the typical high school student. But it definitely does not apply or is not true for elementary students or middle school students. So I'm wondering how many days of instruction are our middle schoolers and our elementary students missing out on. So that's very concerning. She also went on to explain that when the sick child, the quarantined son, was with dad, the dad took him wherever he wanted to go. I think the list of places that included were, let's see, a kids play area, one of the businesses that's geared towards kids. One of the places was the ex didn't want to take any precautions, took the son out to eat on a daily basis, took him to a couple places where kids can play games, took him to Hooters, got to get him well educated, I guess. And this entire time he never tested positive. He never exhibited any symptoms. And I'm wondering who's in charge of the school. I know what I'm hearing across the globe. I know what I'm hearing in the United States. And I'm wondering how many people does it take for us as a community, for you as elected individuals, superintendent, to look in the mirror and just have some common sense. I mean, I don't understand it. We for the last 10 years, first 10 years of our marriage, we lived on the east side of Indy. And I was so thrilled to hear that we were moving down to the south side. So it's even further south than Greenwood. I was like, wow, this is like almost to Florida even. We're really getting close now. And I don't get it. We moved out of Marion County. And I know
So
that.
2 minutes left.
Thank you, sir.
Okay.
And I'm having a hard time with common sense. Seems to be lacking. Also, the PCR test that's being used to quarantine people, it was never designed to diagnose an illness. If you read what the creator of the test, he says it was never designed for this. And what it does is it indicates that there are fragments. Those fragments could be dead. Those fragments could be from another vaccine that the child received. It doesn't make any sense. Why are we telling our kids, put a mask on, stay away from each other, don't interact, don't touch each other, don't hug, don't go to school? Okay, so what are we teaching them? Who's in charge? I don't get it. And the mask requirement. And who's getting sick? I believe the current statistic is of those who are infected with COVID. I think 97% of us will survive. So yeah, we're going to have a cold. I've already done the COVID. I think the COVID flu, high temperature, shaking, and it was over in 12 hours. And what have we done? What have we done for our lifetime? I know I'm not the oldest one in the room. I remember when my mom would just put her hand on my head and say, yeah, you feel a little bit warm. You better stay home today. I didn't need a test to tell me that. I didn't need a test. I didn't need my legislator to tell my mother how to parent me. And when the legislator tells our businesses, you can be open and you can't, and you need to close at this time, and you can only have 5 customers, or you can only have this many percentage of customers, there's something wrong. Somebody else outside this country, even within the country, or within our state, we've got to wake up. Wake up, Johnson County. Wake up, Franklin. There are 8 or 9 towns covering our within Johnson County, and we need to wake up, guys. This is a wonderful community. Why are we letting strangers tell us what to do? Governor Holcomb has no business telling our businesses when they can be open, when they can be closed, and our schools. Let our kids go to school. Let the parents go to work. We have to survive. We have to make money. We all depend on each other. There's a cycle of life. Simba in The Lion King said there's a cycle of life. You kill one side of the economy, the rest of us are going to die. We're all going to be suffering. We're not talking about the unemployment. We're not talking about the child abuse. We're not talking about the kids that don't get meals when they don't come to school. There's a lot of parents who can't afford to be here because they're working their second or their third job.
So I'm going to have to cut you off. I apologize. I will say that if you want to set after the meeting today, I'm happy to sit down and further talk to you about these details. We can explain, because we do have on our agenda today part of the reentry plan, why we're following the guidelines that we're following. But we do have to follow the state's guidelines and what the health department has set down, and the color code that the state has issued for Johnson County, and what that means as far as the distance between students. And you'll hear tonight that that has changed, right? So we no longer have to have 6 feet. We've got to have 3 feet.
Oh, whoopee.
Well, that's an improvement from what we've had, right? And those kids that are around a positive person, I've lost people from my church. I've lost close friends to this virus. So it is a real thing that those young individuals could take it home and affect somebody. And I don't want to debate that here tonight. That's not my point on saying that. I'm just saying is we all have each stories, a side of that story. And I'd be happy to sit down after the meeting today to talk to you more in details about that and why we're doing what we're doing. Okay?
Thank you, sir.
Thank you for your time.
You're welcome.
Is there any other public comments here? Mrs. Betts, do we have anybody online? All right. Open it up for board comments. And we'll go into our committees. The Athletic Council, we did not meet this month. Central 9.
We have a meeting on Thursday.
Thank you.
If I could add a couple things about Central 9. On Wednesday, they are going to actually interview 3 architectural firms as they move forward with RFP with regard to possible construction. And I think that Mrs. Nelson will get more information about that on Thursday. And then in 2 weeks, Dr. Kovacs will be with us to further explain that. In addition, they continue to talk about the dual credit opportunities that are before them from the state and how that's changing and then how it fits in with all of the curriculum walk for our schools. So there's going to be a meeting, assistant superintendents in charge of curriculum, as well as curriculum directors and Dr. Kovacs to look at articulation, to make sure that what our kids are getting here is freshmen and sophomores move into the junior and senior year to make it work for dual credit and or just college for their high school diploma. So those are new developments that happened actually today. So that's why Mrs. Nelson was not aware of that. But Wednesday we will have interviews with architectural firms.
All right. Thank you. Collective bargaining, there's no updates for the contract. Our communications committee.
We haven't met.
Okay. Diversity inclusion.
We did meet. We had an exciting meeting with the committee. Dr. Aziz joined us for the first time with that group. We had read our first chapter in Courageous Conversations about race and had a really robust conversation about our why. Why as a district we're engaging in this work, and why as individuals we're engaged in this work, knowing it's a journey, not a destination, and that it's about every student.
Yes.
So it's a great discussion.
Do you know what was the percentage rate on the response to her survey? Did she share that yet?
We don't have that yet.
Okay.
We actually meet with her Thursday for a planning meeting. So we'll
Okay.
find that out then. Yes,
I
thank
know
you.
all the admin and cabinet was reminded.
Okay, legislative council.
I just have a couple things that I think the board should be aware of as we travel forward. One, there's conversation right now in legislation about dues for collective bargaining. And there's a bill out there that would tell the teachers that they couldn't have their dues automatically deducted. I'll just go on record as saying I think that's a bad idea. You know what? We want to continue to have collaboration with people, and this is a way that we can do that. I understand that, you know, the union has a position and admin has a position, but I think if we continue to move forward, that's an area that we need to look at. The other one also has to do with special education and the 529 accounts that are possibly out there. And then we get those additional dollars for ACE, it's called ACP, which is that additional dollars for the student's disability. And if that were to impact, then the parents and or could take that money, but then we would still be responsible for services. And that could cause some stress along the way. So those are a couple that we're watching. The rest is, you know, Ways and Means. They're meeting right now to go over the budget. And it looks like they're continuing to make us whole, which is really a positive thing as we move forward. And the last one has to do with the average daily membership. Remember, we just had our second count this couple days ago, and they're looking at going ahead and funding for the graduate student, because that's something that happens to all kids, you know, or all schools that we lose. You know, for us, it's between 20 and 30 kids that graduate early, and good for them if that's their journey. But then the school loses out on half that tuition, and so there's conversation, and it looks like it's trending well, that would be added, that we would just continue to count those. So those are some things we're watching. Ms. Gross, anything else on budget that you've watched? Or
No, I think, like you said, the state's looking at making us whole. Probably not a huge tuition increase, but at least maybe a little bit.
Good.
Not as much as the governor proposed, but
All right, our mental health. Becky? Yeah, there you go.
Sorry. We did have a meeting, and it was basically just review of, you know, all the different things that we have done, kind of beginning of the year review. Similar to what she presented at last month's meeting.
Okay.
Mr. Lamb, could I go back to Athletic Council?
Yeah.
I think that Mr. Doty is presenting a petition to name the athletic complex for Mr. Heminger.
Yeah, he was going to come in next month.
Okay, and so just want to make sure it's on everybody's radar. You're going to receive the request for that. And remember, part of the board policy is he has to have a committee. And I believe that he has that committee, and they're going to be coming forward with that. So I just wanted to give everybody kind of a heads up on that as we move forward with that.
Thank you for that.
Yeah.
Music Council,
We did not meet this month.
thanks. RDC,
nothing that pertains to the schools.
thank you. And then the Superintendent's Strategic Council.
I'm excited tonight because in the discussion item, we are going to actually unveil the 21 to 30 superintendents, task force, and strategic plan recommendations. So
Very good.
that's pretty exciting. We have some guests that are going to help present, as well as kind of talk about the steps that we have taken to ensure that's going to be a successful venture.
Fantastic. All right, we'll move into the recognition portion. We've got quite a few items here today.
We do have quite a few this evening. We are going to start with individual student growth and collaboration, and then we'll transition to FEC. For individual student growth, one of our key guiding principles, we have community projects, academic all-state, signed letters of intent, and Central 9 Students of the Month. I want to congratulate, as I start here, all of the students, as well as their families, coaches, teachers, and support networks. We all know that it takes a team, and so thank you to everyone and congratulations. Community projects. In pursuit of his second-degree black belt, sixth grade student Julian Meyer raised $1,072 to benefit the residents at Otterbein Franklin. A requirement of earning a second-degree black belt is to develop and complete a project that has a positive impact on the community. Julian recognized that COVID-19 created a hardship for many, and he decided to raise money for the Benevolent Fund, which serves as extra financial support for the residents. Julian created an informational video for social media and also spoke to fellow classmates of his cause. Julian said, "I just wanted to help everyone at Otterbein." Congratulations, Julian, and thank you. Also working toward his black belt, Creekside fourth grader Aiden Fikes raised and donated $1,030 to the Franklin Police Department. Aiden was recognized at the Franklin Board of Works and City Council meeting for his contribution to the city. Aiden wanted to make a positive impact on his community by donating the money to local law enforcement. Congratulations, Aiden, and thank you. Academic All-State. Again, congratulations to all of our student athletes. Girls soccer. Josie Albright, Stephanie Brady, Abby Henderson, Addie Marshall, and Maddie Reynolds. Boys soccer. Reed Geisler, Jack Hart, Jack Henderson, Robbie Knight, and Nick Woods. Volleyball. Cameron Kelsey, Lauren Sandrock, Madison Ellis, Megan Thompson, Miriam Jones. Girls cross country, Sydney Clements and Lillian Lacey. And football. Ethan Pfeiffer, Reed Roberts, Brody Reinhold, Jack Henderson, Nick Woods, Max Lancer, Jake Beckert, Connor Seat, Michael Beal, Harris Eason, Elijah Doobie, and Grant Roberts. Congratulations to our academic all-state students. And now our signed national letters of intent. Again, congratulations to all of our seniors and their families. Kira Baker, Huntington University, basketball. You know what, Natalie? As you pull them up, I'll do them in the order that you have up here. I just realized they're not in the same order. Kira Baker, Huntington University, basketball. McKillop Ratzliff, University of South Carolina, swimming. Natalie, why don't you just pull them up and I'll read them. Brody Reinhold, Marian University, and Ethan Van Lanlin, Olivet College. Congratulations, both in baseball. Golf, Ellie Bevins, Taylor University, Damian Dickey at Butler University, and Olivia Paramore, Savannah College of Art and Design. Congratulations. Isabel Harrison, University of Kentucky, softball. All right. Jackson Hedges, Franklin College, tennis. Stephanie Brady, University of Indianapolis, women's soccer. Swimming. Lots of swimming. Here we go. McKillop Ratzliff, University of South Carolina. Cabria Chapman, Indiana University. Kate Oliver, University of Missouri. Gracie Payne, Ball State University. Congratulations to our swimmers. Tyler Fuqua, University of Wisconsin, Platteville, for wrestling. And volleyball, Cameron Kelsey, Jacksonville University. Our C9 Students of the Month, as you know, each month, C9 asks their instructors to identify students who've shown character and work ethic. These students are to be named Student of the Month in each of their programs for the month of February. Congratulations, Jada White in Health Sciences 2, their nursing program. Outstanding work for all of our students. Congratulations. Now for collaboration, we would like to congratulate 2 of our coaches, Mid-State Coaches of the Year, which are selected by their peers, Crystal Morris in girls cross country, girls golf, and Ray Lane in girls cross country. Congratulations to our coaches. Please join me in congratulating all of these outstanding students and coaches and staff. Thank you.
This month too. Our educational foundation, the Franklin Education Connection, awarded a total of $12,303.60 in this year's classroom grants. The first one went to Brianna Belden at Northwood Elementary. She requested funds to purchase sensory tools for students with processing deficits. Melissa Stewart at Needham Elementary was funded almost $300 for a project with growing vegetables for a community garden, of which they will eventually donate the food to families in need. Cindy King from Needham Elementary was approved for a project called Movement Through Math. And this was to purchase dice and dominoes to serve as teaching tools to reinforce the math skills. Emily Erickson at Union Elementary was funded $255 for storing classroom items in a way that prevents the spread of COVID-19. Molly Lucan at both Union Elementary and Webb Elementary requested funding for music instruments. So increasing the collection of instruments both at Union and Webb. Allison Clark of Union also was funded $190 for Wonders, Sunshine, and Rainbows in kindergarten. And this was also an organizing type project to keep materials neat and sanitized. Jody Bridges at Webb Elementary was funded for a project called We Matter. And that is to provide second grade students with the opportunity to experience working with live specimens. Megan Osborne at Creekside was funded for a multi-sensory approach to Orton Gillingham. And that's just to purchase items that will supplement current remedial reading instruction. Jessica Meyer from Creekside was funded a project called Increasing Vocabulary, and that project is to purchase nonfiction and classic novels. Megan Basic from Creekside was funded a project called Ready to Read, and this project aims to support low-level readers and non-readers blossom into readers. Allison Seaver from the middle school was funded a project called Putting the Tea Back in STEM. This project will purchase 20 Bluetooth compatible temperature and conductivity probes to be used in the science department. And this will allow students to be more fully immersed in collecting and gathering accurate data. And Kevin Hankins here at the high school was funded a project for the FCTV program here at the high school to more effectively live stream events. And this will be to purchase an intercom system to assist FCTV with communicating between crew members during events. So congratulations to all of our teachers for a very successful grant cycle.
Thank you for that. So before we get to the proclamation, I want to add something here to the agenda. And thanks to Mrs. Betts for putting together this letter. So I have a letter here in front of me that we've signed this evening that myself, Mrs. Martin, and Dr. Clendenning will sign to send to Governor Holcomb and Dr. Weaver at the state. We're asking that the state reconsider and move the teachers up in the vaccination schedule as we look to start moving towards the next phase as we go into yellow and we have the kids here 4 days a week. We've heard that the teachers are concerned about that. So we're asking the state to reconsider their vaccination schedule and to move us up higher so we can help alleviate some of those concerns that the teachers have. So that'll be going out tomorrow to the governor. The second thing we have that is on the agenda, and this month we'd like to recognize the Food Services Department. So the Food Service Department here in Franklin have continued to serve the students of Franklin selfishly, again, with multiple challenges that they face. The department has remained flexible and accommodating throughout the many changes brought upon by the COVID. The department is dedicated and valued here at Franklin. So with that, this month we want to recognize them, and we'll have a special day on February is it this week? Tomorrow, February 9th. Yep. To recognize them. So lunch will be brought in for them. We just want to say thank you for all the work that you've done. That goes all the way back to the summer when they put together the tent out in front of the schools to help distribute the meals, making sure the kids had the meals even when we were closed. So we want to thank you for that.
They've been amazing.
All right. We'll move to the next section on the agenda, which is the consent agenda. Yes, ma'am. Yeah. We'll have time at the end for questions. Yep. Thank you. So on the consent agenda for the members of the board, we had a late change on the all occasion tent rental. I asked the Dr. Clendenning and Mr. Sewell to add a not to exceed limit for the maintenance. So that is now included into the document that we will be approving tonight. And then we have under the personnel report, Dr. Clendenning, I'll let you have the honors.
Well, it's with great joy for this person, but great sorrow for us that I am announcing that Jill Overton, the Director of Food Services, will be retiring at the end of this school year. Jill has been an amazing person for us throughout the last 12 years with me being here. I know that she took over before that, but she'll have huge oven mittens to fill. And we are looking forward to watching her journey in that next career. But we wanted to say thank you to Jill. We're honoring all food service workers this week, but if we could honor her for the rest of the school year, it wouldn't be enough. She's an amazing person, and we just want to say thank you to Jill for what she's done.
Absolutely. Okay, and then the other item I want to raise to the board, we have under the reentry plans, is Mr. Doty online? No?
He isn't.
So the athletic department did a fabulous job hosting the girls sectionals basketball here. He was going to bring in the details of that, what went well. And then we were also going to bring in for the performing arts.
And Mr. Sewell is here. I don't know where he is, but he is here to talk about performing arts, and there he is. Mr. Sewell, we're ready for performing arts.
Yes,
Yeah,
please.
that'd be
Thank
great.
you.
Thank you, sir.
Matt?
Yep.
Yeah, okay, there we go. Now I can hear it. Wanted to just give you a quick update on the work that Mr. Martin and Mr. Ahaus and I have been doing with Mr. Kosh and Mr. Hummel with regard to performing arts. We had a great meeting a few weeks ago with some of the parent members of those activities and got some feedback and input from them. And we were really, in the course of that meeting, able to clear the way in a large degree to get the show choir and the band and the choir programs engaged and on their way again this year. So I spoke with Mr. Ahaus and Mr. Martin today, and I was able to see Mr. Kosh as well. And that all seems to be going really well. The kids are able to come in and practice together, and they have some competitions scheduled. We're going to host a band, or I'm sorry, a percussion and winter guard competition, and maybe a second one. We're working on the second one. It looks like Show Fest will also happen, and they've got both of those programs have good safety plans surrounding how the teams that come to us, come and go from the building, and what our social distancing and our spectator limits and all of that stuff. They've really been thoughtful and worked through that in detail, and so we're optimistic that the kids are going to have a good kind of second semester with those activities. Be glad to take any questions you have.
Just a question. So I had a parent come up to me over the weekend asking again, I guess not knowing about some of those things that are now ongoing. Have we communicated that out? Have we made sure that all the parents involved know that these are going on, that, the dates when they're going to happen and all?
I think a lot of that is changing on a regular basis. Like Mr. Kosh is an example today. I was just in the last day or so making some new arrangements. Mr. Ahaus and Mr. Martin have been working closely with Mr. Hummel and Mr. Taylor for the choir program. And so those details are quickly evolving, and they're getting those activities scheduled. But yeah, they all have mailing lists that they utilize to communicate with parents, and I'm confident that communication is happening.
The first Show Fest event is coming up later this month at Center Grove, and Mr. Ahaus has gone through the receiving schools protocols to make sure they match our protocols.
Yes.
And there was one, they were supposed to travel down to
Dearborn County.
Dearborn County that did not meet ours. So we excluded them from that, but now they're going to go to Avon. But the rest fit with the protocols that we have that match what we're doing with regard to social distancing, having the kids perform and then leave. So we do feel comfortable with that. So Mr. Ahaus is kind of the first check, Mr. Sewell's second check, and I'm the third check as we travel through this road. But and the parents have been notified with the lists. I also spoke to one of the parents who reached out to us and just to verify everything, and she said it's going quite well. And I think Mrs. Nelson had a parent reach out to her as well, asking about some confusion that was going on, and I believe that's been cleared up as well.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you.
What about the hosting of the choir event? What are we doing there?
As far as the hosting, they've got a really detailed safety plan about how teams in different schools will come and go, what the screening process is for the students as they come and go, and how to manage the spectators and the changeover between spectator groups. And it really will be a situation where teams will come in as a group, through a screening process, they'll perform and then they will leave and they'll hear the results later. So, and then likewise, the spectators will also change out over through a kind of a pretty well scripted process. Kind of so.
Yeah, because I mean, that's been an event. I've never seen so many people in the building jammed in the hallways.
Yeah.
Yeah, they definitely will not be all here at one time, and not nearly at the scale that it has been in the past. Because it does, in a typical year, it takes over the whole building.
Yeah.
And that is not what this one will be about. It'll be much more limited number of teams and schools, and they will only be here long enough to perform and then leave and have their. We are going to allow some spectators. But yeah, good some good structure there.
The spectators are coming for their own respective schools. So you will
Yes.
not be able to stick around and watch anybody else. You'll leave. Similar to what took place with sectional basketball this past weekend when we hosted the doubleheader. We cleared the gym between games completely. The visitors and home were waiting to get in. We're spaced out in the field house, separated socially. And then Mr. Doty and I had the custodians clean, wiped the facility down, and then they exited through one door as the other group was coming in. We're going to follow a similar pattern for the Show Fest and for Drumline. So it's really the kids that have interacted at school that day will come and perform here that day. And it's the same what's going to happen when we go to Center Grove or Avon or some of the other places. Our kids are only going to interact together.
Good, nice.
So, and a lot of that is
Great.
specified by their organizing entities. The band program actually through ISMA is not able to have in-person competitions, so they're working kind of on a separate track to prepare virtual versions of their competition submission for that. So those kids are still engaged in that, but we are going to have in-person activities for percussion, winter guard, and show choir.
And the last thing is regarding seating in the pack. We are following the same color code as the county with regard to percent. Like, for example, we just gave the girls basketball. They had 8 tickets because only 12 kids. So it was less than 7% of our gym that could go in there. We're going to follow that same in the pack when we do start showing performances. And right now in April, we have the musical scheduled. If that were the case and we were still yellow at that point in time, it'd be about 25% of the facility. We will assign seats. Will not be festival seating. It'll be set seats to match what we've been doing at the other end of the facility.
Great. Sounds good.
Thank you.
Okay. Is it still on?
While we're on this safety, I want to thank G&H Orthodontics. They donated $19,000 worth of K95 masks to our school system in January. Each school received a whole box that Natalie helped distribute. I have a sample of one. It's tough to see, but from the company, they've also notified us that if we have need for additional ones, they would like to help supply those. So we will be getting those. And then the state also will be sending K95 masks to us. So.
All right, with that, any questions from the board? Do I have a motion?
Move for approval.
Thank you, Brian. I have a second. Thank you, Brian. Brian, how do you vote?
Yes.
Christy?
Yes.
Becky?
Yes.
Brian? Yes. I vote yes. The consent agenda passes. So we'll move to the next section, which is under superintendent reports.
Dr. Worland and Ms. Gross. Natalie's. There she goes.
So the good news is we will be receiving a second round of CARES Act funding for COVID-related expenses. A few differences on this round. Our grant period is going backwards to the very start of the COVID experience. And then we will have the opportunity to capture expenses through September 30th of 2023. Another difference this time is there is no equitable services requirement, which pretty much equates to we won't have to share this funding with the non-public schools. They will, there's another side of CARES Act that they'll receive funding from. And our anticipated allocation is a little bit more than $2 million. Some of the allowable uses for this funding, they're including building upgrades and maintenance related to COVID, which would, for us, would include air quality, HVAC systems, that kind of thing. There's also another use would be for planning and coordination efforts, preparedness for response to public health departments, and improve and preparedness and response efforts. So Mr. Sewell can probably find some areas to spend that funding. And then also included in there is student and family support services with educational technology, making up for some of those learning gaps that we've talked about, and then the mental health services and supports. So, as you know, we submitted a FEMA application earlier in the year for a lot of our initial expenses. We have not gotten approved for that yet. In fact, I logged in today and our application is in process, but it hasn't been touched since like October 31st. So I've not given up hope, but we probably need to earmark a portion of this money to cover those expenses just in case FEMA doesn't come through. So even with that, we'd still have about $1.5 million to do some other things with remediation, summer school, bring students, back to that increased level, and addressing some of the building issues that Mr. Sewell has identified.
What about things like gas or running more bus routes or anything like that? Is that reimbursable?
That's a good question. They haven't come out with all of the guidelines yet. We've gotten very little, but hopefully, because we can definitely capture
Right.
some
So it's-
expenses there.
Mhm.
So we'll keep you posted as we receive information.
Okay, thanks.
Dr. Warland, did I miss anything? I did. Whoops.
Yeah.
You did great.
And I think this is probably only the second of three. I think if you're following what's happening at the federal level, it does look like that we will. So it does look like that we will get additional dollars as we travel forward. So we'll keep everyone posted. We are working with FCTA as well. One of the things that we're looking at, like for example, with the CARES Act, would be summer school. We budgeted not very much, just a normal summer school, but this could help us. So there's some things in the journey there that we'll keep you posted. So these two are going to spearhead it, and I thank them for that. So.
What about the obviously they're going to cover some cleaning material and things like that and maintenance, but what about the additional personnel that we had to hire? Does that include people as well?
It would, yes. And any overtime with existing employees, that type of thing.
Great. Okay.
And actually, in the current CARES Act funding that we already have in play, that's what allowed us to hire the additional clinical assistants to help the nurses in some of our CARES Act assistance in the buildings to assist with extra instructional needs as well.
Great,
So
thanks, couldn't remember.
that should continue.
One of the things that Mrs. Nelson, if we can still see her, she did reach out and highlight the second clinic assistant has really gone well. And as we look forward to 21, 22, that might be a really good use to continue that for one more year. Just, you know, COVID's not going to end on August 1st as we come back to school. But we'll definitely have some precautions and opportunities, and we can look at that. So she did highlight that one as a possibility. So we're trying to reboot. Matt, can we keep going? Okay, perfect. Okay, Katie.
Evening. I think that is it on?
Yep.
Yes.
Yes.
I'm Katie Smith. I'm the principal at Union Elementary, and I'm going to present an update on the Wellness Committee for Franklin Schools. I will tell you how I got in this seat. I asked for myself to be in it. So in October, Dr. Clendening and Dr. Warland asked me, what's something that excites you? Think about your goals for this year. And I was going through my head, and I'd already started. I was thinking about the journey that Amanda Martin had started last year, or had been about a year in pause. And it's something that excites me. I like culture. I like happiness. I like fun. And so I said, would you trust me with this? And they said, go for it. And I said, all right. So I took some information from all kinds of different committees, the Employer Choice Committee, the Wellness Committee, and had some meetings with Amanda and Tina, and we reignited it. So December was our first challenge, and our objective is just to encourage and promote overall health and wellness for all of our employees. I did a little snapshot of the current committee members, and this crew is the balance and the brains behind each of our challenges. So my idea was to target overall wellness for each month, and not just physical wellness, but balance out from December until May, different challenges, and they have helped make that come alive. So, man, it's hard to breathe and talk. So the Wellness Committee and the Employer Choice Committee kind of have overlapped in this journey, and we're using revenue generating funds from Cub Academy, which I oversee, Cub Care, which Robin Betts oversees, and Cub Quest, which I think we both oversee. So we use some of those funds to encourage overall health and wellness. So over the last few months, we have met and brainstormed things that will just promote overall health and wellness for our employees, get them excited. We're tired, we're exhausted, and some of these fun things just keep you going. And that balance just for our kids and our families at home. So in December, we actually incorporated the community and we were spreading joy. So we wrote letters to healthcare and residents. So like Franklin High School had Otterbein residents. Someone had Otterbein employees. We had JMH, we had Morning Point, and we delivered all of those. And we had 42% of the whole district participate in writing a letter. So that was really exciting. I had a lot of feedback, and everyone just really enjoyed just taking a minute to write a card and make someone's day. So that was really quick and simple and did a lot for our community. And then January, we kicked off January with hydration, just encouraging overall hydration and the benefits of hydration. And we had 44% of the district participate in that in some way, shape, or form. And also, it just promotes some happiness out in social media too. Sometimes, as Robin knows, in social media, it can go negative real fast. And when you're promoting and spreading joy and just some fun things with hydration, I hope you did get to see some of those. If not, you're going to see them in a minute. It just is a different light for teachers and educators and staff members of Franklin Schools. So right now, today we released the Franklin Schools February bingo. I gave a card to all of you. I hope you join us on this. But teachers, staff, bus drivers, maintenance, everyone can participate in this. Any Franklin School employee, and we have great prizes. So we've done used survey data to determine what prizes generate or excitement. One of the big things was Franklin apparel. So we did that. One of the challenges, we did Greek's Pizza for 10 winners of the Spreading Joy. And so they met me at Greek's and got a large pizza for their family to enjoy one night. They've loved it. So now it's bingo, and we're doing Made in Madison and some more Franklin apparel. Now the rest of the challenges aren't, I guess, totally developed yet, but we know what we're doing. We just haven't got there yet. So I did a quick snapshot of the two challenges so you could see just smiles, maybe masks in some scenarios. But we just put little red bags in every office. It was really easy, and it really made an impact in our community, I think. So small little gesture. And then here is the hydration challenge. Millie even made it in here. She was hydrating. As you can see, everyone took it to a whole new level. We had a lot of bathroom breaks. We had a lot of hydration happening in Franklin Schools, but it was fun to just see people and just engaging in overall wellness. So the bingo card is overall wellness too. It incorporates physical fitness, hydration, your mental health and wellness. And so that's just a little bit of what we're doing now. Tina's currently doing financial wellness with Planner Pete, and we'll continue this journey. I was able to contact some Franklin businesses that gave discounts for Franklin employees, and so they have this resource as well. And that's what we're doing. So if you want to tag in the financial wellness.
I'll just add a couple of things. Katie's the perfect person to lead something like this because so energetic and passionate. You just want to follow her. So thank you for your volunteerism on this. I think it's important to note that we're not using any taxpayer funds for any of this. These are employer of choice initiatives that are funded with our preschool, our after school care, and then our continuing education program. So we allocate so much every year from those programs to be able to do things like this, hoping to recruit and retain good, strong employees. So I think we're doing a good job at that. We launched a financial wellness program, if you're familiar with Pete the Planner, earlier this month, encouraging our employees to get online, enter their personal financial information, and it triggers like courses that they'll benefit from, like saving for college or saving for retirement or buying their first house. So so far we've had some great participation. We've got a seminar coming up later in February that a lot of people are signed up for. So I think both of these programs are really going to make an impact with our employees.
We know bingo is not going to keep one certain employee, but it's definitely just reminds you of the balance of your health and wellness. Just taking a few breaths before you get out of your car or when you get in it tonight, it can make a huge impact. And just the little things that keep us all balanced when we're all exhausted. So
yeah. Thank you,
Thanks,
Katie.
Katie.
Nice job.
Great job.
All right,
Love
we'll
it.
move to the next item on the agenda, which is the action item. We only have one item tonight. That's our second reading of the policies.
And nothing has changed since the last month's reading, and we ask that you to approve policies 100 through 8451 as written.
Any questions from the board? Do I have a motion? Thank you, Ryan. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Ryan. Brian? Brian, how do you vote?
Yes.
Chrissy?
Yes.
Becky?
Yes.
Brian?
Yes.
I vote yes, those policies pass. Okay, we'll move to the next item, our superintendent's strategic plan.
Well, thank you, Mr. Lamb, and for everyone that helped participate in putting this together. Over the last 18 months, we have been on a journey to write a strategic plan for Franklin schools. When I arrived here in 2009, I took the first year and listened to what was going on in our district, and then we wrote a plan that came up with our 5 guiding principles: individual student growth, communication, collaboration, systemic thinking, and trust. And as we approached 2020, we realized that those were really good anchors. They helped us move our district. But as we move into 2020 to 2031, we wanted to write a new plan, kind of refine some things, keep the tenets of what we had in the past, but also to look forward to the future. And we have done that. We've had over, if we cumulative add everybody, over 150 people participate in the conversation. But we had on the average of about 20 to 25 every time we met. And then when COVID hit, we stopped meeting. Hard to believe, but that did happen. But we picked it back up as the school year continued. We just went to the virtual world. So today I'm here to present the first draft of the strategic plan. We have 2 of the members from the community with us who are going to help and talk a little bit about their journey. We have Mr. Scott and Ms. Jankowski. And we're going to just share a little bit about their perspective, and they're going to tell what we've been doing. And then we're going to pass it off to Dr. Worland. Myself and Ms. Gross are going to finish up and as we talk about the plan. So first up, we're going to have Ms. Jankowski.
Can you hear me? Okay, it's kind of odd talking with the mask on. Good evening, board, administration, Dr. C. My name is Barb Jankowski. Full disclosure, I live in Indianapolis. My daughter, her family, and my 2 granddaughters live in Franklin. My oldest is a 4th grader at Webb. My youngest is a future spider, and I'm a big supporter of Webb schools. I got in on planning the Google Meets, and I'd like to talk to you about the process I was really involved in is our redistricting plan. I appreciate Dr. C opening the vision and redistricting plans to all stakeholders in the community. As we looked at redistricting through the lenses of Dream, Connect, Adventure, and Achieve, we looked at the following options in terms of projected growth in enrollment, school capacity, equity, and logical districts for each school. Our input, ideas, and suggestions were welcomed and used in the final discussion of options. I applaud the board and Dr. C for making the decision to delay the final implementation until the 2022-2023 school year. This will allow for additional time for community comments, additional time to communicate the plan to parents and guardians, develop plan for students transitioning from kindergarten to 1st grade and students from 3rd grade to 4th grade, develop and communicate clear and concise guidelines and processes for inter-district transfer requests, and it allows time for parents and guardians to plan accordingly. I'm old. I've been in school situations where everything came from the top down. Parents didn't have any involvement. And I think it's refreshing that our school system here allows that. And I just want to say that I want my granddaughters to attend a school system where every student is valued and given the opportunity to develop skills and abilities to be successful after they graduate. So as we work through, the board works through, the community works through, I hope we just look at our students, our employees, our communities, and make sure we're all valued.
My name is Jason Scott. I've got 4 kids throughout the school system, 2 are at the high school one at CBIS, one at Creekside, who's getting ready to transition out. And so I'll have one at CBIS, one at middle school, and then two here, and so on. So I went to school in IPS world. Parents just never felt like they were involved in anything. So when I got a invitation to the restructuring of the first 10-year plan, that was quite an honor. But at this group here, when we started doing the meetings back in September of 2019 to work on the next 10-year ideas and agendas, it was open to everybody. It was anybody that you knew, hey, this is where the meeting's at, this is what's going to happen. We brought in businesses, local businesses, county businesses, anyone that would be involved to help give us an idea of what we were looking for to help our kids in the future. Again, the redistricting is a need. My kids at Creekside, and we're busting at the seams. And with the expansion of some of the houses and housing developments around, it's not going to be good. I'm glad to see that there is a possibility we might look at moving the students if we can get the plans together in the next two meetings, which is on the 24th over the next 2 months. There's an email that was sent out about a week ago with with the link that you can get in and on Google Meet. But we're working on it. But I'm glad that we decided and listened to the parents and said, hey, we're not going to push this on us this year after what we've dealt with COVID. And but there is always a listening to the parents. And that's one thing I've always been appreciative of. That's what makes FCS special. I'm also on the side involved in the 500 Festival Education Program. Used to do a lot of mobile trips. Unfortunately, the last 2 years that's been put on hold. But I see other schools. I see what they're doing, and we have something special here. There is issues, but at least there's an agenda to listen and try to get things to do better.
Thank you. Next slide, please. So in our journey, next slide, we looked at these major elements here, and Dr. Warland will take us through those elements and then specifically talk about individual student growth.
Yes, as we've met over the last 18 months or so, I want to thank for sure Jason and Barb, and for those who may be watching or listening who've joined these conversations and will continue to do so. As we've gathered feedback and talked also with our administrators and our teachers and others who participated in these conversations, these are some of the items that you see here on the screen that have bubbled to the surface. So these have come up in those conversations. As we've now taken these ideas, you're going to see them appear in the plan, going back to that collaborative component. So on the next slide, there are three big elements to the plan. There's individual student growth, culture of professional growth and innovation, and financial stewardship. I'm going to start with individual student growth and the three goals associated with that area. Dr. Clendenning will then talk about culture and the three goals associated with that area. And then Tina will help us close with finance. So the first goal in individual student growth is about the learning environment. So when we look at the environment, and Barb actually spoke to a little bit of this, what type of environment can we establish that motivates all students to grow and achieve? And so the measure we will look at as we look at these objectives, which will appear here in a moment on the next slide, is really looking at our student performance data. How are our students doing and how are they growing? So the key objectives, if you can see those up there are 5 of them. And you may already be hearing these conversations as we get excited in our task force meetings and as we move forward. So the first one, we actually talked about at our last meeting, is this concept of alternative, you've heard of alternative schools, or you've heard an alternative program, or an alternative educational pathway that may be temporary or more long-term. But in essence, how are we serving those students that don't thrive in a traditional space, in a traditional classroom? So there will be robust conversations and action team put together on that objective. Then that second one is really about looking at our instruction, our interventions and innovation. Barb, back to your point, how are we ensuring inclusive excellence, right? Every kid. The third one is about And I'm excited about this one. You'll see elements of it over the course of the next 10 years. But this whole idea of a global understanding, this global awareness. Do you remember pre-COVID when we talked about Coogee?
Right,
Yeah?
right.
Do you remember Dr. Carlstrand talking about bringing students from abroad? And we were talking about trips to Spain and trips to France. Yeah, that. Making sure that happens and bringing more of that back into our curriculum, looking at languages across our curriculum. So really trying to re-energize some of that work on global understanding. The fourth bullet, lots of conversations. Actually, I think, Jason and Barb, we had one whole task force meeting kind of dedicated. Yes, I'm getting the thumbs up. Dedicated to looking at that 5 through 8 experience. What are we doing on the co-curricular side? What about athletics? What about esports? What about exploratories? How are we teaming teachers together to work with students and build relationships and think about maybe some of that social emotional learning? And then finally, Barb and Jason covered it, the redistricting element, so I won't spend more time there. The second goal is focused on college and career readiness, really looking at this through the lens of a K through 12 journey and ensuring consistency, ensuring communication with our families, and really engaging students early in this process. The metric we've established currently for this is looking at our freshman level college career planning course, doing a pre-test with our students, and then doing a post-test at the end of their senior project. If you'll remember right, Mary Weedman has been with us. Mr. A. House has been with us to talk about that senior project and graduation pathways. That will be a big component of our work over the next few years. The top objective is really refreshing and evaluating our K through 12 STEM program. Tied into that, I've already mentioned is the eSport component, also looking at our math pathway right now, how we do mathematics K through 12, in addition to how we do high ability curriculum K through 12. How are we integrating robotics as we think about curricular and co-curricular? So lots of robust conversations fall into that STEM area, which is also one of our grad pathways. Grad pathways, again, bullet 2, looking at ag, education, senior projects. We have a vision for a dream, connect, adventure, achieve, kind of a journey, an individualized plan for each student that we will work with students. You'll start in kindergarten and see how all the pieces fit together. So lots of fun conversations there, and we'll continue to engage our community partners. And finally, social emotional health. This is one we spent a lot of time with at the last board meeting, right? And we also have partnered with the community on the referendum as we've looked at safety and mental health, looking at program evaluation for this piece. Natalie, on the objectives, next slide. Thank you so much. Pulling out that relationship piece again, Barb and Jason probably remember we were over at the high school, and one conversation was how we connect adults with kids and looking for ways to build those relationships. Also looking at, again, the overall mental health program and our counseling program, ensuring we don't have gaps K through 12 in that program. So those are the 3 key bullets for that first element of individual student growth. Dr. Clendenning.
The next domain is employee engagement. Last time we said we needed great teachers for individual student growth, and we're saying the same thing again. We're really focusing on looking at how do we attract and retain. We want to thank the community for the referendum. But you know what? In 2028, that's going to be time for us to look again to see what that looks like. But we want to continue to monitor that. The other significant thing in this plan, and I think Brian will see this and Andy will see this, we actually have metrics already defined. We're saying, listen, here's what we're going to measure to say, are we successful? Our last plan, it was like, well, we're going to do this, but we just came back and gave all qualitative stuff, and we never had something tangible. You're going to see tangible aspects throughout the journey. So on this one, looking at it, recruit and retain, we're going to come back and bring back that employee satisfaction chart and continue the 360 feedback loop that's been a part of our heritage. Our objectives are to continue to look at current hiring practices to ensure a diverse pool of candidates. We started that pre-COVID, and we'll continue that journey. Also, to review our policies so that we are a welcoming environment and providing that opportunity. And lastly is that competitive wage. You know, back in 2009 when circuit breaker hit, we stopped being competitive. But thankfully, the community said yes. And Tina and I just actually saw data 2 days ago that placed us in the middle of our peer group, like we said we wanted with the most recent data. So we're there. But you know what? The challenge will be to stay there. And so we'll continue to look at how to offer that package. Also, how do you grow in your profession? We heard Katie today say that she was challenged. How do you grow in your profession? We love that you want to help our school district, but with your growth, we'll help our school district. So we're saying to our employees, how can you grow? Those objectives are looking at creating a culture of growth through cohesive engagement, also looking at growing our own leaders. We've done a great job of this. Our principals are really strong, but we want to continue to grow classroom teachers. We want to continue to grow support staff because we find the people that know our culture help accelerate our culture. We're going to continue to do that. We've talked about 10X grants. We want to thank JMH for their partnership. But what does the next 10 years look like in 10X grants? You know what? We've done a really good job, and unfortunately with COVID, we had to hit pause. We're bringing those back in 22, 23 and saying, what does that look like? We've heard about global opportunities and we've heard about different things. What does 10X look like? We'll continue to talk about that. And then also continue to reflect on an evaluation system and a growth system that really helps that individual person. So we're excited about that. The next one is employee innovation, and we're looking at staffing. You know, like in our staffing, we've said, listen, at elementary, we want that 25 cap in school class averages. But you know what? We're hearing more conversation about maybe we should think about a primary average and an intermediate average and not have one big average. Things like that are in the conversation with regard to what's going on. Natalie, you can go to the next slide. And then continuing to have each employee give feedback on the long-range goals. We want to ask the people about part of the journey here. You know, I think it's very important to hear the voice of the customer. One thing that Brian and Andy has really taught us throughout their process thinking is what's the voice say? And really the voice are our stakeholders, both community, but also students and faculty and staff. And so we're going to continue to do that. And then as a great organization, we want to make sure that our anchors tell us. That's what we're putting where our money is, where our mouth is. So we're going to send it over to Ms. Gross, and she's going to tell us if we're doing that.
Yes. So our third overarching goal is financial stewardship. We want to make sure that we are good stewards of our taxpayer money, and we funnel those funds to the right projects and the right programs. So strategic plans cost money. So we're going to have to get creative on grants and additional revenues, external funding, you know, maybe even fundraising. So as you can see, there's about 7 objectives under this particular goal. The first couple that we'll focus on are developing an annual budget that reflects the prioritization of staffing, programming, and operational needs. If we do that, we'll be able to fund some of these visionary dreams that Dr. Worland and Dr. Clendenning have. And then also focusing on identifying efficiencies in our operations, so we can free up some money internally to be able to do some of these things. So the committee that we put together for financial stewardship will be focused on these objectives over the whole course of the 10-year plan. So what are next steps? Well, we need to form subcommittees because it takes a village to pull something like this off. So we want very diverse subcommittees, you know, teachers, custodians, food services. We need voices from all different areas. We also need to get, we need some structure around this to hold ourselves accountable. So a good Gantt chart will keep us on track and hold us accountable to timelines and budgets and things like that. And then we're also planning to develop a dashboard to track our progress. So the public can go to our website and see exactly where we are with these initiatives. Dr. Warland and I have studied a free tool through ECRA, educational something consulting research group, I think. So as you can see, it's pretty basic. Like you can pull something up and see we're 53% through one of our initiatives, and it's a pretty user-friendly, easy tool for us to be able to implement. And I think it's going to be a link on our website, and then when you click on that link, it'll take you to something that looks like this. So we'll be able to update it periodically and make sure that we're making progress.
And as we look forward, we created this transformational map also to show us where we've been. And so you'll notice the three different areas with an array out there dividing them. Financial stewardship on the far right, individual student growth in the middle, and then culture, professional growth, and innovation. And you see those dots, those are the big rocks for us right now. And what a person will be able to do is click on one of those big dots, and it'll take you further into the plan as we travel forward in our transparency and sharing information. And as Ms. Gross said, each of us will oversee that and then create subcommittees. One of the things that's going to take place is, yes, I'm overseeing professional growth and innovation, but I'm actually going to be passing that off to some other people. And then my job will be the overseer of all of it, similar to what we do in our systems thinking with the project charter. And then the board, you guys are the ultimate overseers of this. And we'll continue to come back and share the results of where we're headed and make changes in our plan, do, study, adjust model that we need to. So that is the overview of our strategic plan. It's been refined and defined for us to help move forward to 2030. What questions do you have? And Mrs. Nelson was also part of the entire journey. She came to the meetings and represented both a parent, a school board member, and a JMH employee.
Yes, I appreciate that opportunity.
So no questions, but just great job finding the dashboard. I'm a firm believer that if we want our folks, our staff, to be part of this journey, if they can't go find the data to tell the story themselves, the worst thing that could ever happen is somebody says, they didn't tell me, I don't know. If they're asked a question and they say, I don't know, I don't have the latest data, right? So great job on finding that if we can keep that going, right? And that way the teacher in the classroom, when they're sitting on their lunch break, right? If they want to go in and dive into it, they can go in and get that story and see where we're at, see where they're at, right? What's the gap that they have, maybe the next steps that they want to take. So nice job on that.
So next month we'll be back to ask for formal approval
Okay.
of our strategic plan, and then we'll continue on with the task force, and that's where we're going to begin diving down to subcommittees and beginning to do the work.
Okay.
I do have a question.
Yes.
On some of these, are we going to do talk about metrics earlier, but I'm thinking about college and career readiness. Are we going to create some kind of number that says we've succeeded in this if X% of our kids go on to something? Is that the next layer of this?
Yes.
This is great, and this looks beautiful too. Everybody's got it. Very easy to read and very.
We want to thank, we got Robin's hitting a home run today. She's doing a great job. She's done a great job all year in the communication side, but Robin does a good job of taking what I want to share. And I say, can you do that? Yeah, I'll get it back to you in about a day. And she comes back, what do you think? I'm like, well, how about we move this and this? But overall, she's done phenomenal work. So thank you, Robin.
Are you the translator, Dr. C
She
translator?
is. She is. Yeah. She's done a great job. Mr. Lame, as we go on to the comments, Mrs. Martin is here. And as we've talked about, the state came forward last Thursday with significant changes to quarantine and different things. So I've asked her to kind of just be here to give a quick overview of what we can expect in our district, because the state would make us think we're throwing everything out. And I don't think that's going to be our case. So I've asked Mrs. Martin to just briefly share, and it's not on the agenda as an item.
okay.
So I would like her to talk at this time.
Absolutely. If you don't mind.
Go,
if you
go to that
the-
Mac right there.
Yep.
Yep.
Is this on?
Yep.
Okay. So the state had came out last week with some updates. And so Franklin Community Schools, we've met with Johnson County Health Department and we've collaborated with all the other county schools. So we're all going to follow pretty much the same plan. So our changes went into effect today. And our big one is that we have went from 3 feet of distance for contact tracing down to, went from 6 to 3 feet. And that only applies in the classroom setting. So we do expect that our numbers will go decline a little bit with our contact tracing for our quarantine purposes. Now, for like lunch and extracurriculars, it is still 6 feet if students are maskless. None of that will change. But there was a lot of buzz in the community and around the state about the 10-day quarantine. And that is not necessarily applicable in our situation, meaning that the state only allows that to happen in the classroom setting. And theoretically, we shouldn't have very many kids that would qualify for the 10 days. So we're going to continue on with the 14. It is the safest option. We don't feel like the impact is going to be significant enough to change our course. We are seeing our numbers decline. We're on a good track to get us back. So it doesn't make a lot of sense right now to change it. And that follows what the recommendation from the county is. So I'm happy to answer questions, but.
Rapid testing.
Huh?
The rapid testing.
Oh, yes, thank you. So the rapid testing is an option for schools. We have opted as a county that we are not going to take that responsibility right now. The health department will continue to do all of our testing. The tests are a few weeks out to even being delivered to our schools. And so right now, it just doesn't make sense for us to set up a testing site. If the test is negative, for instance, we have a student who is symptomatic, the test is negative, we send them home for a PCR test. And as well as if the test is positive, we send them home. So it just makes more sense that we keep the testing offsite right now. So that may change in the future, and we will look at that and continue to evaluate it. It might be something we offer later on, but right now we're not going to take that task on hand. Am I forgetting anything else?
I think that's it.
Okay, I'm happy to answer questions if anyone has any. Sure. No, we're not using any of it. They are going to send us the Brinks. I think it's called the Brinks. This is like a rapid antigen test. So the PCR test is a different test than what they're going to send us. So that is one that if you get a negative test, like a negative rapid test, you have to go and get a PCR test to make sure you're negative. So we would not do the PCR test here. Essentially, yes. So what they were going to send us was an antigen test, which is what, a rapid test. They're trying to do away with that rapid test terminology, but pretty much it was a rapid test. So if you would get a negative rapid test, they recommend that you go get a PCR test, which is a lab test, which we would not have access to. So you would have to go to your doctor, to the health department. So they weren't going to send us the PCR test. You're welcome. Sure.
So the antigen test, the rapid test,
Mm-hmm.
is the first line of defense. And then that indicates that there might be something going on with a student or adult. use the PCR as backup test. And my difficulty is with the PCR test and what has changed besides the fact that we're getting new orders from on high with them and without our countries. And of course, the government told them. This PCR test, okay, so these are a few things that are problematic with this situation. The PCR test serves to amplify fragments of viral DNA. The test is run through cycles. Every cycle grows the positive signal, and the average cycle right now is 3.
Yeah, so I'm really sorry, but I'm just not an expert on the testing. I'm happy to help answer any questions about the guidelines or for what the state or the county are recommending that we're doing. But when we get down into those proteins and everything else involved in the testing, I'm just not your girl to answer that. I'm sorry.
Well,
Right. Yeah, and that's part of the reason we're not testing is because, the PCR test is a more accurate, more reliable test. However, it takes a lab to actually analyze that test, and we don't have that. So, and no school does. So that's why they're sending these antigen tests to schools, because it's an instant in 15 minutes or so, you have an instant answer. So I can't really debate the testing with you because I'm just not an expert on it. And I apologize, but we're not going to test here at school. So, and you're welcome. Uh-huh.
We're sending children home because of the test.
But we're not.
It's-
We're
Rob,
not. Yeah.
I'll go ahead and speak
Okay.
at this point. Our job is to educate kids correctly. We meet with Johnson County Health Department and Dr. Mormon, and he is our consultant to help us guide this journey. We have been very robust in our safety for these kids. You're right. We're here to educate, and we are going to do that. Our job is not to be medical, to say what's COVID. If a student gets a positive test, if a teacher gets a positive test, we have quarantine protocols and we move forward. We're not here to debate, is the testing well? We're not here to debate, do you wear a mask or not wear a mask? We're here to educate kids, and we've done a great job all year. I would put our school district up against anybody in the nation. We have done a phenomenal job. We've had collaboration, and we've continued to do that. We're going to do that. I understand you've got questions, and I think like Mr. Lamb said, give us a call. We'll be more than happy to talk with you about that. But as far as quizzing our director of health services or asking us about the test, that's not what our job is. Our job is to educate kids and create a safe environment. We've been in school every day, K-6. We have 7 through 12 been in a hybrid model. And if you look at the research, the reason why that is, I'll just talk real briefly, K-6 are not the great spreaders. 7 through 12 are. And that's what we've stuck to. We've worked very closely with Dr. Mormon. If you want to call Dr. Mormon, I'm sure he'll be more than happy to talk with you about that. But we do have to look to the state authorities and the CDC about what we're doing. And we've done that. So I appreciate you coming tonight. There's been a long journey and to get here. Really, we want kids to come back to school too. Every teacher wants to be back in 5 days a week. I saw a group of kids at the middle school the other day, and I said, are you ready to come back to school? And they're like, can we come tomorrow? I mean, they're excited. And we want to do that. But you know what? We have to be safe. And that's what we're going to do. So I appreciate you coming tonight, asking questions about the journey. We'll be glad. You can talk to Miss Campbell. She's my admin assistant. She's also the board's admin assistant. We can set up a time to have a conversation on the phone about what our journey is. But we'll go from there. Okay? Thank you very much.
And to add to Dr. Clendenning on that, just to let you know, because Dr. Clendenning just shared with me this evening, we are leading the county as far as our plans for getting the kids back into school, right? Dr. Clendenning shared that, when we go to yellow, and that's coming up by the data, right? We're going to be going back. We're going to get those kids back in to 4 days a week. Marion County, you said that that's not going to happen until way after spring break. You know, that's going to be the April timeframe. And I think it's because of the systematic approach that we've taken, the phased approach that allows us to get these kids back into school where we're at today, right? Because there are some schools that went all virtual and we've kept it on the hybrid. We've been able to keep them on the hybrid. So at least we're getting them in, you know, those couple of days a week to get them into the classroom. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So it's, you know, nothing's perfect, but we are trying to get the kids in as quick as we can. Mm-hmm. All right, I'll open it up for the board. Do we have any comments for the board? Becky or Christy?
Nope.
Fine. Okay. Dr. Clendenning or Dr. Worland? Administrative comments?
The only comment is just a reminder about February 25th.
Yes, February 25th, board retreat at Ivy Tech Community College here in Franklin. And we will have board packets available mid to late next week.
Okay. Also, when we're talking about calendars, next month's board meeting, like to schedule an executive session prior. So if we could start at 6 o'clock for the board, we have to talk about our cyber approach with Mr. Sprout, and there's one other topic.
Property.
Property. Thank you. So again, we'll do 6 o'clock here at the school.
And that one will take about an hour. Safety security side, Matt will take probably about 40 to 45 minutes. The last 15, Mr. Young has been working with us on the property project, and he's got some information for us. And that probably be 15 minutes, don't you think, to clarify, to get moving?
I think so. It's just adding to the knowledge that you've already obtained on the issue. So I think 15 minutes would do it.
Okay.
If we need to go longer, we could plan it. I mean, leave it to you guys.
Okay. Well, Matt's the main show.
You guys can decide that later. I'm just saying, don't feel like we have to just shove it in. one.
Okay,
Yeah.
if that works, if that's okay, because these are two pretty important things as
Exactly.
we move forward.
I don't want to rush them.
Yeah. Okay, so thank you.
I'll be here at 6:30, so.
Okay.
Okay. All right, thanks.
All right, moving then, was there anything else on the calendar of events?
I do not think we have anything else. Just a reminder that kindergarten registration is taking place next Tuesday. It is online. There'll be a two-step process in the journey. And tell parents the initial one is going to be get us your information and say you want to come to us and get that paperwork. And then in July, when Robin says.
They'll receive a follow-up email where they can fill out more of their paperwork online pretty shortly after.
Outstanding. Mrs. Betts is an all-star today. She is. And then also just want to remind everyone that spring break, we have March 25th through April 5th, and then graduation. We are planning graduation to have people in the stands. We're going to be outside. We have budgeted money for that for this year. Unlike last year, we are going to be outside for that. That is that Saturday morning again to accommodate kids. If they were to make the state track, they could still get there Friday or Saturday, depending on that. But just want to let everybody know that it is an outside event this year.
All right, we'll open it up then for public comments. If you have a comment on the agenda or any topic, you're welcome to come up to the microphone, take 2 minutes.
We get, as we go into the next meetings or so on redistricting. Also, we need to maybe think about are our buildings going to be able to withstand further growth? How do we start financing for expansion or new building? I know that was kind of out there on the strategic plan, but that hasn't really been a discussion point or something, but it just kind of something's kind of hit me. And one of my many visits yearly would have been to Brownsburg, and it's like every year they were always building something or putting something. And I'm sitting there going, and I was looking at the population, I'm like, they're not expanding like that. but again, they have different connections and things like that. And I think we've done well, and I think we're looking at trying to keep with what we have, but I think we need to start looking at 10 years from now.
Yep.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thanks for that. So that is something that was put on hold because of COVID. So we've done a facility assessment, and we've got not only for future expansions, but what does our current buildings look like, and what are some of the needs? So we know like Webb, well, Mr. Stool already upgraded some of the air handling, the heating system there because of that study. So thanks for that. Any other
Mr. Lamb,
yeah.
That's also one of the objectives. I didn't run through all of those, but that's one of the objectives under financial stewardship, a long range facility plan. So
Fantastic.
great thought, Jason.
Okay.
Let me see. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I understand. Yeah.
Hi, my name is Robin Duncan again, and my family just moved to Johnson County this summer, and I just wanted to come and share some outside thoughts. Just taking notes from what you've shared. Thank you for your fantastic education process that you're providing for all of the children. I just wanted to ask, I'm assuming that when the kids are here, that you are requiring them to wear masks?
Yes.
Okay. And I was just wondering, are you giving them oxygen breaks? And if so, how many are they being provided with?
We are providing mask breaks throughout the day, depending on both teacher and student need. And we, in the summer, we also have outside tents. You'll notice on our agenda, we partnered with a local organization, All Occasion Tent Rentals, to put those back up, to have an outside classroom available where the kids don't have to have their masks on.
Wonderful. And does that not sound absolutely ridiculous to anybody in the room that you have to schedule an oxygen break because of the kind of clothing or covering that you're requiring children to wear?
Well, I can speak as to my granddaughter, who's in 4th grade. My daughter gave her the option in the fall, stay at home and do workout, go back to school, wear your mask. And Olivia said, I will wear my mask all the time. And they do a very good job. And yes, they get their mask break. And my granddaughter has not had a headache, eye strain. She has not had any negative effects from wearing her mask. That's just my personal observation.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I was on a couple of different chat groups that are based on different towns, and here in Johnson County, and there were over 115 comments by concerned parents that were very upset and very angry about the headaches and the physical trauma that their children are experiencing. So I wanted to share that with you. I don't know what school they were with, but I know it is this county. And I just want you to know that there's a lot of public concern about this issue. So I just wanted to share that. The other concern I had was and thank you for whomever's here. I'm not sure which position is what person. As far as food services goes, thank you. I heard somebody say that you are providing, you have continued to provide meals for students and staff. My only concern about that is what about people that don't have a car and are not within walking distance of your cafeteria? How are they getting their meals that they would have normally received if they were in school?
We had volunteers that drove meals out to those kids over the summer.
Okay.
And in addition, State of Indiana's partnered with local schools, and Mr. Sprout actually pulled this data each quarter that inside the families get a daily amount that they can use in form of a credit card that the schools have partnered with. So they don't have to come here to get it.
Good.
It's part of their electronic benefits that they receive from the state of Indiana, and that's in partnership with our school district.
Wonderful. Thank you for that information, sir. Is that true for all of Johnson County?
That's true for all the nation.
The entire nation?
Yeah.
Okay, that's great. I did not know that. Thank you, sir.
Okay, time for one more question.
Yes, sir. Thank you. I was delighted to see your focus on encouraging staff and helping them to improve their health. And I was wondering does it make sense that if you want to promote overall health and wellness, why don't you just focus on improving the immune system, which is what each of us has, and by doing that, allow the adults to not wear masks unless they have symptoms, and thus they would be allowed to breathe more oxygen. And I would think that breathing more oxygen on a regular basis would improve their immune systems far more than anything else that you could do for them. So I'm just wondering about that.
Well,
Why are teachers wearing masks? Is that what you're asking?
If you're concerned about improving health, doesn't it make sense that to improve someone's health, you would need to help them take better care of their immune system? And the number one thing that our body needs, besides water, would be oxygen, from what I
So our
understand.
number one concern the last 13 or 14 months has been keeping all of our people safe. And the best way for the 5 of us on the school board who are lay people to do that is to shut up and listen to the guidance. So whether it's safe, the CDC, Dr. Mormon, our job is to listen to the information from those who are educated and credentialed in that area and defer to what they say. And so the state guidance, the national guidance, CDC guidance, Dr. Mormon, they're all saying wear the mask. So I don't have the time or the energy or the appetite to try to combat that or in some way fight with a professional who knows what they're talking about. And so if those people who we trust say wear the mask, keep the kids and the adults safe, that's the stance the 5 of us are going to take. And so if you want to debate the efficacy of masks, this is not the time or the place because we've already decided a year ago that we were going to be quiet, be leaders, take information from professionals who know what they're talking about, and go from there. So that's been our stance, and it's going to continue to be our stance. And all we want is for our teachers and our kids and our staff to be safe. And the number one way to do that is to stop the spread of this virus. And the best way to do that, based on all of the data and all the scientific research, is to wear the mask. And so that's where we've been, and it's where we're going. And again, I appreciate your concern, the questions you're raising, they're good academic conversations. But as far as the 5 of us on a whim, sort of, bucking the whole system of what science and medicine is saying, that's just not going to happen here. But again, I appreciate all your questions, they're good, but you're not going to out-care us. You know what I mean? Like, all we think about every day, 24/7, is keeping our people safe and healthy. and the mask is the way we do that right now.
Thank you. Does the alarm mean I'm done with my time?
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, with that, just one final comment. The roads are bad, right? They're snow covered. Please be careful when you leave here. Take your time getting home. We want to make sure you get home. All right. And with that, we'll adjourn the meeting. Have a good evening.
Thank you.
Thank you.